Welcome back to another episode of Altitude and Attitude present A&A Light. Today's guest is not only a talented baker and entrepreneur, she's also a powerful voice for love, inclusion, and community. Kimberly Allison is the owner of Sugar Magnolia Cakery, a proud mother, and an outspoken supporter of the LGBTQ plus community, inspired in part by her own journey as the mom of a non-binary child. She's been named one of the Gulf Coast 100 Successful Women to Know and is the recipient of the Unity and Innovation Award from GCAP. We're honored to welcome her to Altitude and Attitude. Kimberly, thanks for being here. I had the question earlier, but you guys started going after Trump and all the people.
Religion and politics. I will talk for 6 hours.
So, how old is your son? Or I'm sorry, how old is your child?
Juno will be 26 in September.
Juno. And how does Juno like to be referred to? A pronoun? I think it's pronouns. Is that right?
That's correct. And they, them.
They, them. So real quick, let me jump in here. I just learned a term today, and you guys can laugh if you would like to, but I just learned that I'm a cis male, and I have no idea about any of this stuff. I have a little bit. All of us are around the same age. I still have, I didn't raise a child who went through any kind of transition or anything. He wasn't gay or, he's just another cis male, I guess. Right. So you're going to have to excuse my ignorance. I am here to learn about this. So if I say something wrong, please correct me or laugh at me if you need to.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I thought that it would be great to have him too, because me and you know what it's like to go through it. Mm-hmm. And he's going to think of questions that I would have thought of 12, 13 years ago. Right. But I've been living it so long, maybe I will forget to tell you or ask you the question.
Right.
Because right. I know the answer. I've already know the answer.
And it's still, just to let you know, I'm still learning.
Oh, we all are.
Because Juno is their new name, and Jay is a nickname that we've been calling JJ for a long time. Okay. So there have been these, and again, I don't believe this is linear,
Sure.
It is very up and down. And so there was the first coming out as being queer. Okay. And then later was the coming out of being non-binary. So it's been this journey that I am very much still learning. And I have to catch myself sometimes because the they, them is fairly new.
Sure.
So I'm still, very trying to be aware of my language and
it just doesn't roll off your tongue because we've been talking the same way for so long. It's so hard. Right. So hard.
And please go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think that's why conversations like this are so important.
Absolutely.
For you and I, even though we're kind of walking the same path as parents, it's still different.
Yes.
Because again, I don't know when your child came out. I don't know how long y'all have been living that. But for us, it's still fairly new. So we're all walking. There's this whole, I'm a big Grateful Dead fan, and it's like we're all just walking each other home, and to do that and just trying to understand. And how are you going to do that? By having conversations, educating people, the willingness on my end to be open, because even as a parent, it's like I came out as the parent of a queer non-binary child. How are people going to
look at you?
Look at me. What are they going to think about me? And I just got to this point where, I just don't care. Think of all the things that I've come out about, being an alcoholic, being, whatever. It's just one more part of my journey and Juno's journey. So, that's why, when you asked me to come, I was like, yeah, because this is important. And it's not about me.
No, and that's why we, like me, Pete and Stanford, he's not here, but the three of us, we were like, this is important to get out there for straight people like us that come from a militant background, a really conservative background for me and Pete, and for Stanford, the Black community is a very large group of not exactly accepting people of the gay community. It's a large group. So that three of us being who we are, like, let's get out there, let's learn and help other people like us learn. Like you said, it takes conversation, but it doesn't take conversation where, like, Pete, you say it all the time, we don't always have to agree on something, but if we don't discuss it, how am I going to know where you stand? So, like, I went, and you tell me about this is the question I'm trying to ask you. When I was going through it, like, it was phases almost. Like, okay, you tell me this, and I'm learning, but we need to discuss, like, what does this entail? Like, what do I need? I've always been supportive. So what do I need to do to be supportive of you? Because I don't want to hurt your feelings in ignorance of my own ignorance. And then you feel like you can't tell me, like, hey, Mr. Krista, and I don't want whatever it is that I did to offend, you know. Right. So I'm sure you went through that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, it's been, when you talk about acceptance, I think a lot about when a child, let's just say my child, because I can't speak for every parent.
Correct.
I have had moments of going back and looking at the very first time that Juno came out as bi and queer. And just all the thoughts I had. And a lot of that being the parent stuff of marriage, grandchildren, you know, there's all the stuff. And then I had to step back and go, yeah, but you know what? Those are all the things that you wanted as a parent.
Yeah.
The dreams and the goals and the things that we daydream about, how our children will be and what they'll grow up to be. But we have to realize their life is not our life. And what they want is not, most of the time, is not going to line up with what we want.
No.
Or what we thought we wanted for them, who, you know, what we wanted them to grow up to be and whatever. I know, I believe, and through having 3 nephews that are all, you know, they're all boys and playing sports and all that in Jackson and all that. But it's like, I did what you did and I went blank, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to find it. That, you know, I have seen so many kids be pushed even down the line of sports or this or that. And it's the last thing they want to do, you know.
And football.
Yeah. Or being a great golfer or a tennis pro or whatever it is. And just because that's what you want for your child does not mean that's what they want. But then they get caught up in the people pleasing and, oh my God, my parent, what are they going to think about me if I don't do this? And grow up to be adults who are miserable and unhappy, you know, and it's that whole trajectory of things. So my question then becomes, why don't we just support our children?
Correct.
Bingo.
And who they are.
Yeah.
And who they are constantly
Because if you like sports, you can still be gay.
Exactly.
If you pushing somebody into sports is not going to take the gay out of somebody. I'm sorry that nobody just is going to be able to just like be like, oh yeah, oh my dad made me play football. I don't like that anymore. I'm not who I am anymore. No, you may like football, but you still who you are.
Right, you're still who you are.
Yeah, I mean,
but think about, again, the men and women, you know, who go into that and feel like then they have to hide because they're not going to be accepted and they're not going to be. And then that whole, what happens, you know, it just, so again, I go back to, why don't we just go back to this novel idea that we just love and accept our children for who they are, what they like, what they enjoy. I have a quick story. This is, y'all, I think you'll like this, but when we lived down here the first time in Ocean Springs, we were, you know, brand new. I think Juno was in like the 9th grade. And of course, really wanting to make friends, being the new kid, all that. So one day I picked them up from school, gets in the car, and how was your day? Proceeds to say, well, I learned about this really cool thing that I want to do and I want to try. And I was like, okay. And I said, tell me about it. And he goes, well, it's called cosplay.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And I'm driving, and I'm like, okay, so what is cosplay? Tell me about that. And of course, I knew about Star Trek conventions.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of a nerd, the band geek and all that, and what pretty big in pop culture. But anyway, so Juno goes on to tell me about cosplay. And, you dress up as your favorite comic book character, movie character, whatever. And, you go to a convention. And I said, okay, so are we talking about costumes and wearing makeup? And yeah. I'm like, okay. And you're talking about going out in public? And Juno's like, yeah, they're called conventions. And I'm like, oh, hell no. We are not doing that. And the craziest thing is that I eventually gave in. And of course, because I was like, you know what, whatever, making friends. So when it's Two-Face, I Googled, how to do makeup on YouTube. And anyway, so then Juno went into becoming a real full-blown cosplayer, was judging cosplay contests and guesting and all this for almost like a decade-long, 12-year-long cosplaying. And now is kind of like the in-house costumer at Biloxi Little Theater.
Wow.
And awards last year at their Bravo Awards. And I think, you know what? Oh, and another crazy thing is I've had Juno in therapy off and on, for a majority of their life. And I went back and looked at some notes that the psychiatrist had written. And one of the things was they asked Juno, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Juno was 10. And they said, I want to be a costume designer. 10 years old. Yeah. And I was like, what in the world? And I mean, I only found that a few years ago. But I wanted to share that story because even little 10-year-old Juno knew what they wanted to be when they grew up.
Yeah.
And if I had stayed closed-minded,
to
the cosplay world and said, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing makeup. We're not doing da-da-da-da-da. And I've learned to be a makeup artist, a self-taught makeup artist. I help with costumes. I help everything. I mean, so I think if I had been closed-minded, like my parents were, of what we would have
missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's something that you two can do together.
And we have done it together. I mean, and for years, and it has been so much fun. And the famous people we've met, and I'm serious. I mean, I've met Jason Momoa. I've met David Tennant. I mean,
that's awesome.
And it's like, if I had been just so stupid, to kind of cut off their happiness.
Right. Shut him down.
Yeah. For me, of something I didn't want to do, and I just think as parents, we get caught up in that and saying, just because I don't want to do it doesn't mean that they can't do it. And it could be the very thing
that makes them happy.
That sets them on fire.
That keeps them from harming themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
I feel like I had to come to the conclusion of I'm being selfish. It's not their fault. I'm the one being selfish because I don't understand. So I need to stop telling them, please don't walk to your car like that. I have neighbors. That's mean. These are things that I had to learn and go through because I just didn't understand. It's
okay.
So you have to find stuff that you have in common. We both are musicians. We have that in common. We can speak to each other. I love it.
And
it took some learning.
And that's one thing that I wanted to ask was, as a straight male that's never had to deal with this, and I don't know if you guys ever went through this before your children came out, but we in my mind, and I talk to my brother and my sister, and they say, doesn't matter if my child came out, it's easy. I'll just accept him. Boom, done. Right? We make it seem like it's that easy, but from what I'm hearing, from your stories, Kimberly, is it's not just that easy.
It's not. If I'm completely honest, it is not easy. And I think that goes back to what I was saying a bit ago, and grieving. I've been through that of grieving my dreams of what I wanted for Juno to, acceptance and being okay. And then coming out again and being like, oh, okay, well, I can handle the bi and the queer thing. I got that.
Yeah,
but now it's
I made level 1, and now you're sending me to level 2. I don't like level 2. Is there a level 3?
But
and there is.
Yeah, and there is. I'm sure there is. But like I said, I'm still learning. I'm still learning, and I'm okay with that. Because my thing too is that my child, fortunately, thankfully, is still here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We did have an attempt when Juno was 14, and I made up my mind then that's not going to be an option.
Right.
It's not an option. I will love my child through anything and everything, whatever it is.
You're going to practice what you preach.
What?
You're going to practice what you preach.
Oh, yeah.
You are going to love your child unconditionally, like Pete just said. Everybody says. We all say it. And then sometimes our children throw a huge monkey wrench into what our perception of unconditionally is. And you have to be unselfish and just like really unprogram your brain, like you said, to what you wanted them to do. Like, I wanted you to be this. I wanted you to be that. And now it's up me. If you
don't you love that? Yeah. Don't you just love that conversation? Yeah, it's what I want you to be.
If you critically think that down to the, if you do the root cause analysis of this, to say a military thing, and you get down to the actual thing, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
It's your prejudices. It's your taught and ingrained in your whole life that this is wrong. That especially coming from the Christian religion, it's wrong. Love everybody, but not them. You can pray the gay away. That's not possible. All the things that we've been taught our whole lives. So it's really hard getting past that selfish, even as open-minded as Pete. You've known me for 30 years. I've always been an open-minded person. You just don't realize that, no, you're not sometimes. You think you are, and then every once in a while, it's like the universe sends you something, and you're like, okay, I thought I was open-minded, but I don't like. Are you in a dress? And I'm not going to say my son's name just so everybody knows, or my child's name, because I don't know how much of this they would want out there. So, anyways,
sure.
I don't. I'm just going to respect. Yeah, I'm going to respect what I don't know. So,
and we don't want to out our children if
no.
But Juno is. If you follow them on Facebook, Juno's very open about, every aspect of their life. And I know why they do that. And so other people out there
feel comfortable.
And I truly believe that they are making a huge difference. And I commend Juno on being straightforward and honest and authentic.
They almost have to be stronger than than anybody.
Sure.
Well, here's the thing.
To live.
And I'm sorry.
No, I'm just.
Because I'm old, and if I don't.
Get it. No, I am too.
I'm keeping notes.
Okay, good. Because here's the thing I also go back to combat the argument of praying the gay away or changing or it's a choice or whatever. And my thing is, if I had a choice, if it really was about choice, would I choose to wake up every day and be bullied and harassed and threatened and, ghosted by people, whatever you want to say?
My child has said those exact words.
Right.
Would I choose that for myself? Would I choose that for my child? Absolutely not. Would any human being choose to be treated that way? It's just like the black people. It's like they cannot help.
Yeah, you're born how you're born.
How you're born.
Right.
I mean, it's like, and then if you really do care, then you would try to understand socioeconomics, the culture, the history, all of it, because it all really does just line up.
It has to. Everything has to do with another thing.
And it's just like, but would someone choose to be born with that skin color, with that, issue? If it was really a choice and you were going to be treated horribly, would you choose it?
Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Not a choice. I'm sorry.
And
it is not a choice.
I got to be honest. It would be easier for straight white people like us to be net closed-minded and get in the group of the rest of most of the country of
Oh, sure, yeah.
This discriminative thought process, because then we would be accepted by. Because guess what? We are. We are exactly
and called horrible
because we're wrong.
Yeah,
because we're wrong. So not to pat ourselves on the back, but I'm going to, because it does take a lot to say, no, you're not gonna talk to my son like that, or be in a group of people and hear somebody use the N-word and be like, oh, hey man, what?
Mm-hmm.
Just because there's nobody around here doesn't mean that's right. It's not right when there's nobody around either. That takes a strong person to be in that group.
Mm-hmm.
That everybody else was laughing and say that. So I mean, there's work. We still have work to do all the time. But it would sure be easy to just like throw on a red hat and go grab my pitchfork and jump in with the neighbors and round our children up.
It's always easy to hate and be angry and judge people. That's the easiest thing that you can do. There's a book called The Road Less Traveled, and that's the road that we're on right now. It's not easy. It's very difficult because we have to be able to adapt, like you guys obviously know. We have to be able to adapt to all the curveballs that come to us in life and be accepting of what's happening and still be able to move forward, really. So I think I pretty much have an idea, but living in southern Mississippi, in a Southern Baptist community, raising a non-binary child, that must have pushed every button. I don't even know what I'm asking, except that I can't imagine what Juno and you must have gone through.
I will say this. It's still hard. Because again, I am very accepting. Was supportive. Whenever Juno leaves the house and makeup and whatever clothes they're wearing for the day. Some days it could be very masculine. Some days it can be very feminine. It just it flip-flops. But there are days I'm like, turn your location on. You text me when you get there. You text me when you're leaving. I want to know where you are because I'm scared to death that something's going to happen. So that's where I am today. When Juno came out, Juno did not come out as non-binary until we moved down here. There could have been a reason for that, and I really don't know the answer to that. I'll have to find out. But we were living in Jackson, and in 2021 we moved down here. I had broken my back and had lots of time to get in my head. And I was like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I just knew that I was not supposed to be in Jackson, Mississippi. Every time I go back up there, it's just, anyway. So we packed up, we came down here. So that's been kind of, I think with us being a little bit more removed from our family unit, it was easier, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And to do that from afar. However, let me say I am proud that at Pride, we had a table and I had told my mother and my sister that we were going to be there, and they had asked me to speak, and they were both like, we want to come. We want to be there. And I think, other than what they've seen on Facebook, that me standing up there and saying I'm the mother, the proud mother of a queer non-binary child, was the very first time they heard me say that.
Wow.
And they were so cool. Nothing. My sister and I have always, had gay friends and loved the community. But what makes it so different when it's your kid? It's like,
because it's the same with us. Like, I've always known people, and we served with people who were gay. But like, that doesn't affect me. It's easy for me to say, like, oh, well, that doesn't affect me. What he does in his bedroom or she does in they do in their bedroom doesn't affect me. Well, now it's my child.
right, and somehow that's different.
It's not, but it is.
Right.
It is different because now that affects my emotional.
Well, we're emotionally invested
Exactly.
in that
Exactly.
human.
But I'm not emotionally invested if Pete came out tomorrow.
Right. And
I don't think so.
Yeah, because I'm not emotionally invested. I'm not emotionally invested in that. So like it really is. It can be.
Yeah.
And you've gone through it longer than I have, but it can be interesting.
So I think maybe the whole coming out process would have been different if we were still up there. I think Juno found the courage to do this and to be 100% authentic with themselves and me because we moved down here. And landing in a community such as Biloxi Little Theater that is so pro LGBTQ. They just love everybody. Again, they practice what they preach over there, and so welcoming and just making them feel at home. And I think through that, again, the acceptance, the warmth, the love brought that comfort of, I really can do this, and so I'm just at this point now where I'm like, this is cool. We're good, and my role is to still just to support and love and to be there. And even more so in this crazy time that we're living in is just,
Wasn't it like a weight lifted off your shoulders when you decided, you know what, this is me. I'm the one with the problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like, we can have fun again.
Yeah. When you get over yourself.
Yeah. When he comes down here, we'll go to the bar, we drink, we shoot pool, and I hate that he's getting better than me, and all I still struggle with some of the what do you call them, pronouns every while, because we're talking about a long time. I'm learning, I'm trying. As long as I'm trying, I think we're good.
I think that's what matters. I think that's what matters. Yeah.
I don't care what he looks like. If he wants to shoot pool with me, I'll take him to the pool hall. There I go again. But it doesn't matter. It's like once I figured out it was me.
Yeah, we could work.
Not
him.
I think something that's probably important. I think you guys will agree with me, is one of the misconceptions that I've even been speaking about here today is that there is no LGBTQ plus communities in the South, that there is no gay pride in the South, that there are no allies in the South. And I think it's important that it gets out there so that those that are struggling with this know that it's there. I mean, we're talking about Southern Mississippi. You don't get much more Southern than that.
You're swimming if you do.
Right. And I think it's important that gets out there.
I do too. Definitely. I mean, I think, especially the kids out there that are struggling, they need to know that there are adults and parents who are very much accepting and a part of it as allies, and I think having conversations like this today saying we're doing our best too as parents. We struggle with the terminology. We struggle with, the whole, like you were saying earlier about the cis thing and understanding that or whatever it is.
We're human.
We're human.
Right.
And, again, we're all in this thing together. But it is important. And I think it's important for the community to hear from us saying, we see you, we love you, we support you, but we struggle.
Right.
And we want to learn and we want to do right. And that's one thing Gino has also said is, as long as people are trying, we're really okay with that. Like if you call the wrong pronoun and catch yourself and go, I didn't mean that, and you're aware. But the people that just refuse to
it's because they're doing it for ugly.
Right,
they're doing it to be ugly.
Right, and to dead name and be ugly is just awful. So we are trying. But, I know I am. I'm not perfect. I mess up every day.
Well, the second we stop learning, we end up putting on a red hat and going somewhere, grabbing our pitchfork. I mean, that's the truth. So
exactly. And I think another thing about, for me, being like a transplant down here, I think another thing we do have going for us as far as South Mississippi is that we're smack dab in the middle of New Orleans and Mobile.
Right.
Which are very, especially New Orleans, and how LGBTQ plus friendly New Orleans is. A lot of their culture seeps over here, and I mean,
it's cheaper to live over here, so a lot of it. It's almost like an inner what do you call that? Intertwined community. Like a lot of people from here are either Bay St. Louis, New Orleans, Slidell, because it's a little bit cheaper here. Probably not on the beach, but.
Right.
It is.
But you're close enough to go over there.
It's a 40-minute drive?
Yeah. It's,
Really? Well, I should move down there.
It's simple. Well, that was one of the reasons I moved back, because we're so close to New Orleans. I love New Orleans and Mobile. So I think that does have a lot to do with it, because up in Jackson, I mean, of course, there's a huge community, but Jackson is so cliquey and it's just so hard. What
I said, it's slapping the Delta, which ain't almost there. It's like right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think moving down here was one of the best things that I could have done for both of us, but especially for my child. Yeah. That
one hit really home for me when you said about turning on your location services and all that. Well, ours is always on, but when they first went to college, I was terrified, absolutely terrified, because I kept saying, okay, Oxford is a very probably forward progressive place. 3 feet outside of Oxford, it's not. Right. So, like, please stay in that town, stay around that college. Don't go wandering off in all these other Batesvilles and all these other places. I don't need you to be the next one, because we all know that sad story about the kid that turned up, dead because he got murdered. Just not that long ago. My child was in college at the time. Knew who that was.
Right.
Weren't close, but knew.
Yeah.
That's a small community and a small college campus. So they all know who each other are. That was just really sad. A situation. I did not want it to be mine or ours, because I'm the stepfather, but he's still my child. So he doesn't introduce me. They don't introduce me as a stepfather. I'm their dad when introduced. So
that's awesome.
He's my child.
You'll get it one day, Chris. You'll get it one day.
Oh, this is way newer for me than it is for her. So.
You're doing great. But it is scary. It's so scary. And it's just, and at the same time, it is so sad that we're living in a time where, we have to be vigilant and be that way, because it is scary. and kids are kids. I mean, even though Juno's almost 26 and an adult, I don't think the frontal lobe is fully developed, and they still think they're invincible.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I remember that.
I mean, our kids,
Mhm.
they think they're invincible, and it's just, I want to know where you are.
I think me and Pete talked about this the other day. Is like, I feel like we fought so hard in the 90s, in the late 80s and 90s, to get a lot of this stuff that was happening in the 2000s to get to the point. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it seems like we got complacent. We quit fighting because we like the direction it's going. So then our kids were complacent because they didn't realize you need to fight to continue on with your rights. So I really think this young generation needs to learn how hard rights don't stay with you if you don't get out and vote, if you don't get active in your community, if you don't get because I promise you, I don't care if you don't do politics, because they do. So yeah, they affect you. So you should. Right. If you're a minority of any kind, you absolutely should be involved, because for the last 12 years, if you think about it, the first administration of Trump, then Biden, then Trump again. That's 12 years we're going to have. We voted in the 70s and 80s all over again. Mm-hmm. Because whether it's on the left or on the right, they all have the mindset of the 70s. Trump and Biden, the 60s, because they're both old. They could have been in high school at the same time.
Yeah.
So one is not older. One's not an old, frail man, and the other one, spry young chicken. They're both frail old men.
Yeah, Trump didn't look very good today on his. He's. Yeah.
But I mean, I wish that I could have some sympathy, but I don't.
Right.
I mean, I hate to be that way, but you make me that way, and that's how you made me. So that's how I'm gonna be.
Right. So. I understand. I mean, fully. And you
want to take away my child's rights? I don't care if you die.
It's crazy. And you talking about politics. There was a time where I was just like, I don't care. I'm not listening to the mess. I'm not, all that stuff. But then again, it's funny that when your child comes out, then you're like, okay, I can't live in that world anymore. I have to know what's going on. I need to read. I need to get involved, because this isn't just about me anymore.
Because now you're playing catch up, because they've been playing the long game for 30 years.
Yeah.
And we all said in the 90s, they'll never overturn Roe. They'll never do this. They'll never do that. Well, guess what? We got complacent. Yeah. And look at what happened now.
Mm-hmm.
Now that entire court pretty much will do whatever they want. So, I mean.
And well, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask both of you a question. Where do you feel like social media plays a role in the complacency?
Oh, I think it's a huge, huge role, because it's not like when we were kids, where if I were to tell you something back then, like you said, your daddy taught you, mine the same, even though sometimes I wonder if he's been looking up anything, but go look it up. But we didn't have computers, and we didn't have somebody's opinion on YouTube.
Right.
I mean, whether we like it or not, this is just me and Pete's opinion. You need to go look up what we say.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the news here at all.
Shit, you don't know. I mean, unless you go look it up, how do you know?
Right.
But everybody just wants to read something or listen to a podcast,
right?
Or do whatever, and be like, "Well, my favorite podcaster said that's wrong, and this and that." Well, do you know how to read? Go look it up.
And we all walk around with a mini computer in our hands. I'm not just talking about screens, but a mini computer in your hand.
You can look anything up.
And people don't even use it for what they really need to be using it for. It's to chat.
Because they don't want to be wrong.
And I think
that's why they
don't want to know.
That's why they've made it uncool to be a fact checker.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, to me, it's like, why is that? I'm the dummy because I checked this out. Yeah, you stupid fact checker.
Right.
Well, but what you said wasn't true. I needed to look it up. I knew here, but I didn't know where.
Right.
But
Exactly.
Pete, what do you think? Because she asked both of us the question.
Well, I think the only thing that people desire to be informed about anymore is gladiator issues like the Kardashians and Dancing with the Stars and Love Island and all of these reality shows. That's what people want. And they turn to social media for the headlines. You know, they don't want to spend their time watching the news, reading a newspaper, reading a book, like Chris was saying, to educate themselves. They just want it quick. They want it fast. They want it quick because they want to go back and binge watch the Kardashians on Netflix. And they can tell you everything about Kim's life, but they can't tell you who their senator, who their representatives are. They can't tell you even who the governor is anymore.
Half of them can't tell you what the First Amendment is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you're right. You're absolutely right about that too. And here's another funny thing that when you talk about reality television, I mean, it's almost like the Trump followers. I'll be nice.
You're in good company.
You know, so here's the thing. The funny thing is that I kind of keep track of both. There are some very right-leaning podcasters that I still have on my radar because I want to know what they're telling people.
Oh, but we do the
You know
same
what I'm
thing.
saying? Like, I want to know. And I know that's where a lot of this is coming from. And I can name a lot of them.
And if you don't listen to them, then you won't know what the mindset of your neighbor is.
That's what I'm, exactly. So, and they are a group of people that is so against Hollywood, right? They are so against Hollywood and actors and all of that, but they're totally okay with a president who was on television for I don't even know how many seasons.
Hollywood made.
You're fired.
Right, you're fired. The Apprentice, right? And then how many people on his appointed cabinet are now reality people? Because I think Fox News is just a reality scripted.
Of course.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So you've got Pete and the judge.
Unfortunately, they made us all star in it.
Right. And I didn't sign up for that. Like, my life is not a reality TV show. I mean, there are real life things happening that I've got to deal with.
And they're not against. I'm sorry. They're not against Hollywood. They're not against that. They just say that they are. It goes back to what me and you were talking about when we were talking about religion. They don't practice it. They preach this, but yet they want musicians to stay out of politics. But if it's Kid Rock, that's cool. If it's Ted Nugent, that's cool.
But not.
But Taylor Swift, she needs to die because she dates all. You know, like what? Okay, I'm not Taylor Swift. I'm not a fan of her music, but good for her. She's a billionaire. Can you imagine how hard that was? I mean, good for her. You know, I love you for it. That's awesome. Oh, you're dating a football player. Well, that's her group of people because people with that much money don't hang around people with our kind of money. You know, so, I mean, that's just, who cares? What does that affect you? I don't understand these people. I really don't.
I don't either. I read something the other day. I have to find it, but it was about the whole wishy-washy. You know, because Trump does that. One day he'll be like, "I'm doing this," and then 2 days later, it's flipped.
Yeah,
and it's really quick. And the whole gist of what I read said there's a reason for that, and it's that so nobody will ever know really what the truth is.
Right.
You're
overwhelmed with false information. So like you start just like, well, you know, I was telling me and Pete were talking the other day. I said, I know that this stuff going down in Iran. I was like, he just said that he didn't have anything to do with it. What was the last time that you remember him telling you a grain of truth? If he said that he told him not to assassinate that dude, he totally did. Like, I'm just sorry, he did.
I think he does it so he can backtrack and he can say, look, see, I told you I wasn't going to.
It's Biden's fault.
Yeah.
That it was somewhere, that it was stated somewhere.
If Biden wouldn't have done what I did in my last term, You know,
But again, it's the whole thing. It's like,
but
who
keep
can
everybody.
keep up?
Yep, you
Mhm.
can't keep up.
You can't keep
You
up.
can't. It's impossible.
And it's a tactic. I really feel like
Oh,
it
for
is
sure.
a psychological tactic.
Oh yeah.
Because again, living in this world where we have these, we're bombarded with information all day long. Our brains are just pinging all the time. You
Well,
know?
Nonstop. Yeah.
If you sit there with the news on, your blood's constantly boiling, but you don't know which one it makes you madder.
Right. Right.
You don't have any downtime. You know, you're constant. The constant stimulation. You know, when we were growing up, you would, you might read the newspaper in the morning. You'd go to the library after school and do some research, maybe. But a lot of the time, we had downtime. We could let our brains rest, and not be, like you were saying, bombarded with all of this information. But it's nonstop now. It's nonstop.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think we were created for that at all.
Mm-mm.
Our nervous systems were not created.
And it comes,
You know,
and it comes from, like you were saying earlier, Kimberly, it comes from the social media. That's where we're looking for all of our information, all of our sources. Well, I got it off TikTok. I got it off Instagram or X. I didn't get it from any reliable source,
right.
but this is what I believe.
Because
Maybe we should.
If Tucker tells you it, it's true.
Maybe we should put a tagline at the beginning of our show that says, "We're not a news program." Maybe we should be the first. We should be the first to do that.
Yeah. The second you take my word for something and don't go look it up, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I could get you in a cold, buddy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am your leader. Give me your paycheck.
That's it for today's flight, folks. Big thank you to our guest, Kimberly Allison, for keeping it real and reminding us what showing up with love looks like. As always, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep your altitude and attitude right where it needs to be. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps us out here at the channel, and it doesn't cost you folks anything. And remember then, or until then, remember, a chef is just a baker that has not realized their true potential.